This morning we are celebrating a true legend, a man who guided New Orleanians through all sorts of weather, particularly hurricanes, for nearly 60 years, including 30 years here on Channel 4. Nash Roberts would have turned 100 years old had he been alive today. In just a minute, we're going to share some memories of Nash, but first, Carl Arredondo has a look back at Nash Roberts' legacy.
There is a series of waves along just south of the Canadian border.
How does a simple felt tip marker write an important chapter of New Orleans history? Easy, when it's in the hands of Nash Roberts, in front of a map, calmly explaining the weather, often when it mattered most during a hurricane. During more than 6 decades on local television, the man everyone called just by one name, Nash, became an institution. So much so that when Mother Nature threatened, viewers would ask, what does Nash say to gauge the impact of a hurricane? That's because he had been on local TV sets almost from the beginning, as the city's first on-air meteorologist. But even he would admit it was the science and not the style which he valued most. A New Orleans native, he served in the Navy during World War II, where he was the first meteorologist to fly into the eye of a typhoon to plot the storm. When he returned home from the war in 1946, he opened a weather consulting office to serve oil companies and maritime industries. In 1948, he was hired by WDSU-TV to help track the path of a hurricane. 3 years later, he became a full-time TV meteorologist, the first in the South. His career would include work at 3 of the city's stations, including here at Channel 4 beginning 30 years ago in 1978. Although he retired from nightly weather forecasting on Channel 4 in 1984, he was on call for hurricanes until 2001, and when he died in 2010, the Times-Picayune called him perhaps the most trusted man in New Orleans history. When Nash spoke, people listened.
And Carl, you and I knew Nash very well, and you know, besides being a great weather expert, he was just a very nice guy.
Very much so. Very easy to talk to, nice, calm voice, and that's what I admired most about his presentation of the facts of weather, is that he did it in a calm fashion. He didn't try to alarm you. He gave you the facts, the information that you needed to know, and he did that in a very professional way, but again, in a trusting way. You look at him and you say, I trust that man.
And that was before we had all the kind of graphics and stuff we have now. I mean,
yes.
I can't tell you how many times I've heard people say, give them the grease pencil back and let them do the weather just like Nash did.
Yeah, and that was the thing. Nash required his meteorologists, even when I first arrived in 1991 and after that, he required them to hand plot all the upper air charts, the surface maps, so his meteorologists and Nash as well would hand plot all the data, where now computers do it so much faster for us.
And when you went back to his weather office, I mean, there were maps and charts and things all over the place.
That's the way we had it in the old days. We had the maps print out on the big die-fax machines and we'd hang them up on the wall. We had that here at Channel 4 as well, so it was cool seeing all the maps there, and instead of now they're all on the internet, now they're all on the internet, but back then, yeah, you had them all there and on display.
All right. Well, those were the good old days.
Yes, the good old days.
We do remember Nash.
Yes.
All right, Carl, thank you.
Thanks so much, guys.